Hi, and welcome to the channel. If you're new, my name is Matt, and my wife and I have been renting out our travel trailers on RV Share and Outdoorsy for the last 4 years. And I started out a series on my channel called Is It Worth It?, where we periodically check in and share with you how it's going renting out our rigs. We talk about the good, the bad, the ugly, problems we're having with renters, new gear we bought, different tweaks that we've done to make the process better, that kind of thing. And I even put myself out there and share with you how much money we're making doing this side hustle. But before we get into it, this is a product giveaway video. Super Clean has been kind enough to partner with us and has offered to give a free gift basket of products to a viewer. So leave a comment below on the video and we'll pick somebody at random and we'll get in touch and we'll send you out a gift basket of Super Clean products. So what's new for the 2023 season? The big news is that we added a second camper to our fleet. If you've been following along, you know last year we got down to one camper. We were just renting out our Grand Design Imagine 2400 BH. And this year we added a couples camper, a Flagstaff 21DS. So it's a couples camper, being that it was designed for two people. It just has a Murphy bed and a dinette in it. It's smaller in size, no bunks. And we did that for a couple different reasons. Number one, this is a camper that we wanted to get. It works good for us. Our kids are getting older. They don't really go on camping trips with us much anymore. So this is a camper, even if we weren't renting it out, this is the one we would have picked out. It's a Flagstaff. It's a little higher quality than some of the mainstream campers out there. It's not top of the line, but it's nice. And it's one that we really like. It works well for us, with renting it out being a bonus to help pay for it and bring in a little side income too. But also, we noticed through the years that even though we were renting only bunkhouse campers, we actually got a lot of couples that would rent them out. I would probably say 40% of all our rentals were couples with no kids. A lot of retired people renting them out, taking them on long trips. So we thought there would be a market for a couples camper. And so far, what we're seeing, and I'll get into the calendar later to show you more details, we are getting a lot of rentals with it, not as much as our bunkhouse, our Grand Design. Our Grand Design is out almost every single weekend. We do have a few weekends that are open with our Flagstaff. And that could be for a couple different reasons. Number one, generally I do think there is a stronger market for a bunkhouse camper. Most of the people out there renting are families with kids. But I think another factor too is, our Grand Design, we've been doing this for 3 years with that rig. We have a lot of reviews. We have strictly 5-star reviews. And you know how it is when you're going to a restaurant, when you're reviewing a product, those reviews are so important. And our Flagstaff, when you get a new camper, it gets put on the market. Even though you as an owner have been doing this for several years, the ratings follow your camper. So our Flagstaff doesn't really have any reviews or any ratings attached to it. Now they're slowly starting to come in. But that can be a deterrent, I think, if somebody's looking for a camper and they're comparing one to another one. One has, 8 reviews, 5-star rated. The other one has 1 or none. You're probably gonna go with the one that has better reviews. And I get why RV Share and Outdoorsy, have the reviews or the ratings follow the camper. But I also wish that RV owners could have their own rating too, and that it was clearly visible on each ad. We'll see how it goes. Maybe next year things will pick up more once we start getting good reviews coming in. Like I've mentioned in previous videos, the rental season in Minnesota is primarily May through the end of September. However, in the past, I have opened up both of our rigs to rentals starting in March, hoping to snag maybe a spring break rental or something. And we have had a few of those in previous years. However, this year, I didn't open up our rigs for rentals until mid-April for 2 reasons. Number one, our Flagstaff, we didn't even pick it up from the dealer until the middle of April. And 2, we just had a really harsh winter in Minnesota, a lot of snow, and I keep my Grand Design in the backyard, and I wasn't even able to get it out to the front driveway until mid-April. We had several inches of snow going into the first week of April. So wasn't even available until April 15th. And April was kind of a cold and rainy month too, so not a lot of people were interested in camping early spring this year. So it's kind of a late start for us. We didn't get our first rental until May. It was interesting to see this year that Both of our rigs for their first rental were long distance rentals. We had our Imagine go off to Texas, and then our Flagstaff, the first trip was to Ohio and back. And I would say most of our trips, probably like 90% of our rentals, are pretty short distance, within 2 to 3 hours of our house. However, once a year we seem to get one long distance multi-state trip. So it's kind of weird that the season started off that way. People have asked if we have a mile limitation on our rigs, and we used to. We used to allow 100 miles a day, but I got rid of that because it seemed pointless. Most people that do have the shorter rentals are going short distance. You know, if they're going out for 3 days, it's really rare for them to travel more than 300 miles. And our rules were 100 miles a day, unlimited miles for a week. Well, we found that if somebody was taking it for a multi-state trip, they were usually taking it for more than a week anyways. So the rule really didn't affect anything, and it actually kind of confused people, and we had a lot of people questioning it. So just to make things simple, we got rid of the 100 mile a day rule. I've talked in the past about how we use spreadsheets, and I've switched to using Google Sheets for everything. This year I added one column to our main spreadsheet, and that's for describing and ranking our renters. We do get a lot of repeat customers. Sometimes somebody will reach out from renting a year or two back, and you rent to so many different people, it's hard to remember all these names and people. So I'll put a little description in each line of the person, their experience, but I'll also rank them, because some people we will offer to rent off platform, just peer to peer. It's getting harder and harder to see these platforms take so much a year rental income, but also to see how much they are charging the renters too. It's crazy sometimes to see that, they're paying $1,200-$1,300 for a rental, and you're getting like $600. They even take 25% of your cleaning fee if you're renting out your generators. So if we have a really good renter, I'll make note of it. We'll offer them to rent off platform, and we can talk more about that in another video. I've talked about it in previous videos too, how we do that. But so I have this column to rank and describe each renter. Majority of our renters are really great. I'd probably say 9 out of 10, no problems whatsoever. But every year we get one person that ends up on the naughty list, and we've already had one of those this year. And it wasn't the worst rental in the world, but we just didn't like that they started out lying. In our ad, we do say that you can take our camper to a festival. We just have to pre-approve it. When you start the rental process, they reach out and you start this line of communication back and forth. And we kind of have some standard questions we ask: where you're going, what kind of setup do you have, water, electric, that sort of thing. And they started off already just not answering any questions, and they just didn't seem like they wanted to be prepared for the rental. Most people there's some back and forth conversation. We send them our setup video. Most people watch that. These people didn't. And when they came to pick up the rig, he was just really elusive about where they were going, and I wasn't trying to pry, but I was just trying to get a general sense of what they were going to have for electric, water, in this. And then finally he admits that they're going to some country fest, which is fine. We've had our rigs go to country fest before. We're okay with it. We just want to know in advance, and so that was kind of off-putting. And then they went out on the rental, the RV came back, and there was no damage per se, but you could tell they were using it as a party rig. There were barf bags in there, unused barf bags, broken glass in the sink, and it was just kind of dirty. And the outside was filthy, just caked in mud. Now, granted, I did tell him that don't worry about washing the exterior. I do that on my own. But if I would have known how dirty it came back, I probably would have charged a extra wash fee or asked them to do it. And another thing that kind of irked me is they brought their own generator with, and half of this is my fault because I didn't clarify, but in every other case where people have brought their own generator, they provide their own fuel. But in this case, our Flagstaff has two 30-pound propane tanks, and I advertise that we provide 1 tank's worth of propane, but a lot of times it'll have, both might be full, or they'll have 1.5 tanks. And he attached a generator to our tanks and pretty much used 60 gallons of propane on their trip. He ran his generator off our propane tanks on the camper, and that was just kind of annoying. Now, granted, I didn't clarify that he couldn't do that, So lesson learned, in future rentals, if somebody has a generator, I really need to clarify that no, you have to provide your own fuel for the generator. And we talked about doing our own supplemental agreement form. We might put together something like that for the future for those little issues. So all in all, I mean, it wasn't the worst rental in the world. Like I said, nothing really was broken. There was no severe damage or anything like that. But I don't know, if they ask to rent in the future, I'm going to say no. So one thing that's worked really well for us is our how-to videos. So I put together a setup and operation video for each of our rigs, and then we will send that out to our renters in advance. And I've also done a how-to video on folding down our dinette table into a bed. I mean, it's a pretty simple thing, but it is a goofy design and it kind of trips people up a lot. I tended to get a lot of people calling and asking about it, so I just did a video on that. I have a how-to and a setup video on our weight distribution hitch. And then I put all these videos on our website. And then also on our website, I linked to, it's not my video, it's somebody else's video on YouTube on how the water systems work in an RV, because that's another area where people have a lot of questions. Ultimately, I want to do my own video, but they're all there in just one nice place for people to see while they're out on the road renting your rig, but also in advance. And that has been really helpful to have those. And even if you don't have video editing software and all that, you can still do these videos just on your phone and send them to people in advance. It really helps the process, especially that checkout. If somebody's watched that video thoroughly, it can reduce your pickup time or your pickup appointment. It can cut the time in half. It's really nice, and people feel so much more comfortable taking your rig out when they've had a chance to see what it looks like and how it works in advance. So that's been very helpful. Along those lines, we put together setup and departure checklists that we've laminated and put in each camper. And then I also put them on my website so people can check them out in advance or while they're on the road. In fact, if you're renting out your camper and want to download a copy and use it for your rig or use it as a template to create your own list, feel free to do so. Along those lines, I also printed out, laminated, and taped to the frame of each camper by the hitch instructions on how to use our weight distribution system. What prompted me to do that was earlier in the year, we had an older couple renting our rig, and they were very detail oriented and had a million questions pre-trip. And I was just worried that while they're out on the road, they're going to be calling us 10 times a day with different questions. So I just wanted to make it really clear and easy how everything worked. And just having those hitch instructions right there was helpful. And we've had renters after that have commented that it was really nice to have that quick reference right there. Because even though our hitch system, I think, is relatively easy, there's still 7-8 different steps you got to do. And just having that quick reference is really nice. People often ask what platform we like better, RV Share or Outdoorsy. So far, hands down, I would say it's RV Share. Number one, that's where the majority of our rentals come from. Number two, I like their process a lot better. It's all online. Outdoorsy still has you print out like 10 different pages of paper, and they got to sign in 4 or 5 different places. And RV Share's referral program is a lot better than Outdoorsy. And Outdoorsy has done a couple of things that is a little annoying. Number one, there's been a big delay in them getting our payments into our bank account. And I follow some RV rental owner groups on Facebook, and it seems like this is kind of a common occurrence with Outdoorsy. In the past, it usually seems like, your rig goes out and within 24, 48 hours, that money is in your account. In fact, we've had it this year where our rig has gone out, come back, and then gone out again a second time before we got paid for the first rental. And I know, like I said, other people have been complaining about this too. Now, we did have a rental with Outdoorsy last weekend, and that payment did come within 48 hours, so maybe they've tweaked it, made some changes. But yeah, that's kind of annoying to have to wait a week to get paid for your rental. Another thing that Outdoorsy has done, which I just don't agree with, which I don't like, is that they sent an email suggesting that we lower our security deposit. We have ours set at $1,500, and this email notification said, people could be hesitant to rent because of that, and that the average security deposit people do is $600, and they were encouraging us to lower it. And I just think that's crazy. I think anything under $1,000 is very risky. Think about interior damage. Think about the awning alone. That stuff's not covered by insurance. If the renters damage it, that comes out of the security deposit, and $600, that can go really, really quick. Like I said, we have ours set at $1,500, and you know, they don't pay that $1,500 out of pocket. It's just a hold on their credit card. And I've said this before, if somebody can't afford to have a $1,500 hold on their credit card for a security deposit on your $40,000, $50,000, $60,000 camper, I don't think that's a customer I would be comfortable with using my expensive rig. So I don't like that they do that. And along those lines, every once in a while, you'll see an email too saying, oh, you should suggest lowering your price to attract more rentals. I've seen that last year. I've seen that this year. Sometimes I kind of laugh at that because like our Grand Design is booked out almost every weekend the entire summer. Why in the world would I want to lower my rate? Now, granted, I know that's a mass email that they send out to everybody, but you know, especially with the security deposit thing, that just does not seem like they're putting the best interests of the RV owner first, and I just don't like that. By the way, if you are considering renting out your RV and are on the verge of signing up with RV Share or Outdoorsy, I do have links in the description where you could use our referral code, and then we would get a little something from those platforms. It's a nice way to support the channel, and we would appreciate that. And if you do, I would suggest starting out with RV Share. Now, keep in mind, even though I like RV Share better, we do utilize both platforms. It is nice to have both, so those gaps in the schedule can get filled out. But if you're interested in just starting out and want to do one, I would suggest starting out with RV Share. As far as new gear, I just did a video on all the gear we got for our flag staff, so I'll just put a link to that video if you're interested. But I do want to mention one item that we got that I think is a game changer. We had a company reach out and ask if we would do a review on a macerator pump. And basically what that is, it's a pump that you attach to your black or gray tank, and then you connect a hose to that, and then you can pump out your tanks to a portable container, a septic tank, or in our case, right into your toilet, into the sewer system. I have a video on that as well. I had no plans on getting a macerator pump. It wasn't something that I thought that I needed, but now that I have one, I end up using it all the time. What I found over the years is that, number one, RV tank indicator lights are notoriously horrible. They're never accurate. And I'm finding that, you know, most renters do a pretty good job at emptying the tanks, but they come back with the rig, but your lights are still showing 1/3, 2/3 full. And I've learned that if you really want to get those lights to show empty, not only do you have to empty the tank, you got to rinse, repeat, and sometimes even fill your black tank or gray tank all the way to the top again, and then dump it 2, maybe even 3 times. And I really don't expect a renter to spend an hour at the dump station at the end of their camping trip to try to get those indicator lights to work properly. But what I found is I can use this macerator pump at home and really quickly and easily rinse out my tanks, and then it's going out with the next renter, you know, with accurate lights. Because in the past, it kind of sucked having to tell a renter, no, the tanks are empty. I know the lights don't show that they are, but they really are. And sometimes you can just get the sense that they don't really believe you. It's just a good feeling for both them and us for them to go out with lights that actually show 0. So that macerator pump, turns out I'm getting a ton of use out of. It's kind of been a game changer and is really helpful for the rental biz. Okay, now let's go to the spreadsheets. I'll start off by showing you what our calendar looked like for the first half of the season and show you what's on the books for the second half of the season. And then we'll talk money, and I'll show you what this side hustle has been bringing in so far. Okay, here is our calendar, and I use Outlook for our calendar, and I have it color coded. Anything in blue is our flag staff, anything in orange is our Grand Design, anything in green is when we take our flag staff out on an owner trip. So in May, we only had 3 rentals, and that brought us in $2,462. Now for payments and insurance, we are paying about $600 a month. I have the Grand Design on a 15-year loan, and the flag staff is on a 12-year loan. We kind of have long loans on them to give some flexibility, as we tend to pay them off early anyways. So after payments and insurance, we netted $1,862 for May. Moving on to June. June was a good month here. We had 5 rentals. And the only odd thing about June is it's weird. The second weekend June, we had no rentals on the books. That's kind of odd that we didn't have at least one camper go out. I have no idea why that is. Otherwise, yeah, the RVs were being used every weekend, and we brought in $2,809 after payments and insurance. We netted a profit of $2,209. Going into July, again, every single weekend our rigs were out. I guess except the second weekend in July here, our Flagstaff sat non-used. Otherwise, we had 6 rentals. We brought in $2,916 in profit minus payments and insurance. Total $2,316. Now, going into August, I'm a little nervous because we do not have a lot on the books. As you can see, we only have a couple rentals out there. And, you know, we're only a few weeks away from the start of the month. And usually by this time, we would have more bookings on the calendar. So I've been kind of wondering if maybe the RV rental market is getting a little saturated. It sure seems there are a lot more people that are diving into this. I know I have a lot more people calling and asking me how to go about doing this. So we'll kind of see. Hopefully we get some last minute bookings. Otherwise, August is looking pretty thin there. And then September too, you know, things start to die down a little bit in September, and we're a ways out, so I'm not too worried. We do have a couple rentals on the books for September, and then we do have one for October. Going back and forth on how far out I want to keep the rentals available this year. We'll see how it goes. If we kind of meet our goals, I'll probably shut her up at the end of October. If we still want to be a little greedy, I might keep the rentals open. Mid-November, you kind of snag some hunters that will rent your rigs for deer hunting season. So we'll kind of wait and see how that goes. You know, there's obviously some other expenses too that I'm not diving into in detail right now. It hasn't been a lot, only a couple $100, you know, propane and some miscellaneous parts here and there. As the season gets closer to an end here, I'll do a more detailed overview, including expenses. And keep in mind too, we have to pay payments insurance through the off season too. So at the end of the year, I do a total wrap up to see what a whole year looks like. Otherwise, that is our calendar. There we go. There is our mid-season rental update for 2023. I will try to get more update videos out there as the season goes along. I also have some campground reviews and some product videos coming out as well. Also, don't forget to comment below to enter our giveaway for some super clean products. We'll pick a random comment, we'll get in touch and get an address and send you out their gift basket. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and we will see you next time.